listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to an episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. I am your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
Just clocking in here at let's see. Are you checking the math on here? So I know we'll get to it later, but Texas Tech, I believe this is just in. The football team is the number 5 team in the country in the college football playoff rankings.
Let's
the
go.
only ones that matter. Therefore, I'm very happy to see that. Although I was a little upset with my Score app because the way they alerted me of this news, which I already knew, I've been keeping up with it, but they said Georgia surges to number 4 after dominant win over Texas. That was the headline. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I guess that's one way to frame it. Really what happened is Alabama lost is what happened, but that's fine. We'll take it. We'll take what we can get. Georgia surged to number 4 because Alabama lost to OU. I don't think it had anything to do with their dominant. If they would have beaten Texas in triple overtime by 1, they still would have surged to number 4. If they would have been down 30-3 at half and come back to win 31-30, they still would have won. They still would have surged. Anyway, just a weird framing of what everyone expected to happen happening.
I think surge is a weird verb to use for a team moving up exactly one spot.
One spot. And not because of the dominant win. It's not like they jumped somebody. Nope. It was a dominant win. I watched a good chunk of that. And anyway, I've derailed everything already. Hello, Spencer. How are you?
100% has to do with what the reporter said. The phrase he turned. Not that they moved up in the rankings because they absolutely deserve to move up ahead of a team that lost.
Yeah.
By Alabama, you made room for the rest of us. Because guess what? Texas Tech is benefiting from that loss. I watched the ranking show, the reveal show. Very much agreed with Reese Davis when he revealed that Texas Tech was 5. Said that Tech was on the verge of getting up into 4. He said, but if you talk to people in Lubbock, they probably are right where they want to be. I was like, hell yeah, we want to be at number 5. I've been saying it for a couple weeks now. Dare to dream. I want to be in 5 to 8 range. 5, sweet spot. We have a question here from Haley. We'll get to it. Rest is good, but too much rest can be bad. What do y'all think about first round bye or warm-up game before Georgia? Oof. I love just with the way it's playing out, the matchups that you may get of all the teams scrapping to try to get into that automatic qualifier at number 12, maybe a 3-loss team from the American. Give me that all day, every day. And a home game in Lubbock, Texas in the first round of the playoffs? Hell yes. We'll get to that, though.
Yeah, we do have a game to discuss because we didn't have an instant reaction.
We did not
for
have
the
an instant
UCF
reaction.
Game.
No,
yes.
So we'll get there. We'll start with that. We'll react, recap, all in one. Give you updates on how Texas Tech defensive possessions are ending. I want to dive into the scores by quarter, Michael. I want to break that bad boy. I've been working on this spreadsheet for a while. Not that people haven't been talking about it or you haven't been seeing it. But it's just unbelievable just to track to see it. Are you hearing that feedback?
Feedback or children?
Well, I know the children are there.
Okay. No, I'm not hearing any feedback. I thought you were saying that in code or something. I was like, I can't answer that. No, I'm not hearing any feedback.
No. we'll look around what happened around the rest of the conference and around the rest of the country. A&M surviving, unbelievable. I mean, it's hard to move a team down that was that remained undefeated, but like, do you get credit for clawing out of a hole that you created yourself? Oh my gosh, they're just losing their absolute minds. 1 second.
Yeah. Well, I do. On the morning drive this morning, Chuck was talking about that. I think one of the guys brought up a question. The producer who's on the morning drive, and I'm blanking on his name. Jeff. Right?
Oh gosh, yes.
No, anyway, he brought up a question basically along those lines. The way Texas A&M played this weekend, do they deserve to get moved down a spot? And I was with Chuck because I was already thinking this. And Chuck was like, if anything, almost think it makes them look better somehow. And it doesn't sound right, but to be down 30-3 and come back and win it, I mean, that's really impressive. It's not great to go down that far, and I think they had some weird things happen. I think there was like a strip sack touchdown or something like that. And it was at home, which was when I was reading that, I was at the game on Saturday. I was at the UCF game, and I just assumed it was in South Carolina. I never even thought twice about this happening in College Station, but it was. And I'm kind of with Chuck on that as far as, man, that's impressive. That's something else to have when you have to shut this team out to give yourself a shot, and you do it. You actually do it, and you still win, and you come away undefeated. As much as I like to hate on the Aggies any chance I get, man, that I am almost ashamed at how much that impressed me.
Well, yeah, I don't know where you fall on that, or I fall on that, I should say, because yeah, to your point, like they overcame a 27-point second half deficit. Like you have to be good to be able to do that, but also you put yourself in a 27-point deficit.
Yep. Oh, I know.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's how did you get there? You were involved, very much so. Yeah, I get both sides of that argument, but man, I'm kind of landing on the gosh, that was impressive.
Yeah, well,
how did they do that?
And to their credit, they won the game. So
yeah,
the metric that matters at the end of the day. Speaking of metrics that matter at the end of the day, winning being that, Texas Tech wins. And not that like we're making any kind of comparison here between Texas A&M having their comeback win versus South Carolina, to what Texas Tech did to UCF, but Texas Tech wins 48-9. It went as well as probably could have been expected. Like everything happened basically that we had hoped would happen, that we wanted to happen. You got up big. You got up early enough that you pulled your starters, starting with Behren Morton in the second quarter. You started pulling out the rest of your starters in the third and fourth. You had a strong highlight performance from Jacob Rodriguez, not only on defense, but he made an appearance on the offense, scored a touchdown. You got the snippet, the quote from Joey McGuire saying they talk about the Heisman being a quarterback award, so we put him in at quarterback. So, you ran some again your red zone stuff, which we'll dive into a little bit deeper, was better. You were getting creative in what you did with the ball around the goal line, or closing in on the red zone. Reggie Virgil got his first carries of his career that went for touchdowns. You handed the ball off to Terrence Carter, nearly made it in for a touchdown. But I guess it's good that he didn't score, because the next play is when you got the stash package, which I love that, by the way.
I somehow missed that over the weekend. I didn't know that was what it was called.
The only thing I would have liked is, like, okay, obviously you're probably never going to try to throw out of that formation. Just go ahead and pull Behren Morton all the way off the field. He was still out there. You had to sub Jacob Rodriguez on anyways. Just go ahead and pull Morton off because he did absolutely nothing but watch the play happen. Granted, you didn't need anything from your quarterback on the 2, but you threw down the field. You scored early. You were aggressive. You scored in the red zone. You put the game away early. You gave up a touchdown drive, which if we're going to nitpick, like you would have liked to have not seen that, but I mean, I'm not going to complain about it. Tuesday night after, like, you won 48-9. The other points you gave up, your offense giving up a safety, I think was irritating because of a holding call in the end zone. Would have obviously liked to not have seen that. Have the offense break the shutout for your defense. Had those been the only 2 points surrendered, it would have been even more just maddening. That your defense pitched a shutout, but UCF still would have scored. Which I guess would still be possible if you gave up like a special team score. But anyways, 23.5 point favorite. You win by nearly 40. Over under 47.5. You hit the over by yourself. I wanted the game to be like a 41-10. Michael, you had it 42-16. We were both under what Texas Tech ended up actually scoring. And it wasn't that they had a special teams score or defensive score that added to it. Their offense was just that much better. And then I was 1 point off on the defense. You were 1 touchdown off still. I think offensively, to give more credit to that side of the ball, one, UCF hadn't given up 35 points to an opponent all year, and you had 38 in the first half. You saw Mitch Griffis put up some of the most efficient numbers in the country this past weekend.
QB controversy. Are we going to see number 12 trot out in Morgantown, taking the first snaps?
Snaps, no. Some snaps, probably, or some. I don't know, because like it wouldn't be Morton's last game, but a game on the road, like you can go ahead. Like obviously, he didn't finish the game on Senior Day. He doesn't have to finish the last regular season game on the road in Morgantown. So I wouldn't mind if Griffis finished off that game.
Yeah. Sorry, since we're talking about Morton really quickly, the fact that, and you probably caught this too, I think on the post-game press conference with McGuire, he said Morton felt a lot better this week. His leg felt a lot better, and that was because he actually wore the boot all week, which apparently had been a struggle for him. And so I think he knows firsthand how much it helped, and so now he's got 2 weeks to hopefully get a little bit more, I don't know, support, growth, whatever you got to get a hairline fracture to not hurt so much when you're stepping back on it to throw a football 40 yards in the air, escape a 6'5", 270-pound lineman.
Yeah. I hate to imagine just the grinding that's going on your bone that's trying to heal when you're not like giving it the rest. But like, yeah, like he seems fine until he starts to take excessive hits on his leg, which he took a hit last week. The week before UCF, that then started to show up and into the limp. Whereas this week, you never saw that. He didn't ever seem to be affected by it, or at least I don't remember seeing him look affected, whether it was a downfield throw or just moving gingerly, which is fine. I loved that he got some rest in with the boot. He's going to have almost 2 full weeks to get more rest in, a little bit more comfort and recovery in before hitting the road. And then you've got a Big 12 conference title game to get ready for. If I dare to dream, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple paths for that to be clinched this weekend.
In a week that Texas Tech is not playing, you could see yourself clinched into the game as obviously at least making the appearance. There are a number of rather unlikely scenarios to get you in like a clinch number 1 spot. But some plausible ways to get you in for sure. But then you've got a game next week. You can go ahead and shut it all down. I guess the game on Friday after Thanksgiving could really put you in before you even play on Saturday. Before we get there, we were talking about Baron Morton. We touched on Jacob Rodriguez. He finished 9 tackles, 6 solo, 1 interception. That interception is just a thing of beauty. Like, everything he does is just absolutely just symphonic play from him. He's reading the screen, weaving through an offensive lineman trying to get downfield to block him, catches it just most acrobatic, then avoids another offensive lineman trying to tackle him, spins out of it. Not that he probably would have gotten very far. He was very off balance when that happened. But as much as we've talked about him and hyped him up, every week he does something ridiculous to just continue to not pad stats, but to solidify his resume as maybe the best ever linebacker to play for Texas Tech. And I know that may be sacrilegious or some kind of
sacrilegious,
some kind of offense to Zach Thomas. Probably one A type of conversation between those two guys, just side by side. They're fantastic players. My bias, we talk about like the Heisman potential, or at least the Heisman attention. He's already surpassed Manti Te'o, and he's got at least one more game in this season. That's not counting a conference title game or any postseason run that our beloved Raiders will go on. And he was a finalist for the award. We're seeing like not even like a generational, but like maybe like once in a lifetime. That's probably generational. Like you may never see something like this again. And it's like we need to one level set that like next year, as good as Ben Roberts and John Curry are, that's not Jacob Rodriguez. And that's going to be perfectly fine because you will likely never see this again from anybody, let alone a Red Raider. That's just unbelievable what we're seeing from him. Let alone the guys that are playing around him, allowing him to do it. Like I talk a lot about Lee Hunter, especially when I go on other teams' podcasts and previews. Like, look, like David Bailey, Romello Height, Jacob Rodriguez, they get a lot of attention, but they wouldn't be in the position to be doing what they're doing without Lee Hunter. I loved it that he had that huge tackle for loss, and one of the earliest possessions this past week against his former team in UCF. But for the team gave up 52 rushing yards. 68 if you included, if you gave them back any sack adjusted yards, but still the 68 is still under Texas Tech's defensive season average of 72 per game. 58 total.
While I was in the stands, they were showing the stats, and I really got a kick out of because my mother-in-law really wanted to go, and I think I shared this last week. So we took her, my wife and I, and she had a great time. We really enjoyed it. And so one of my favorite dad joke bits was asking them, hey, how many rushing yards do you think UCF has? And then I just held up one finger. And it was that for a while. They had one rushing yard. I think we were in the second quarter before that. I got to say that for long enough that I really enjoyed it. It was on the screen up there. Look, have you seen how many rushing yards they have?
One.
It's this many. It's one.
You finished the game with 4 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. You had 3 of those sacks in the first half, 5 first downs. You held them to 1 of 8 on third downs, 1 of 2 on fourth downs, 2.1 yards per play. That's not even yards per rush, yards per play. 5 punts. You started the game with 3 consecutive 3-and-outs. And after that third drive, they had -1 total yards.
Yeah, and I should say those stats you just read off, those are first half only. So I mean, I know that they improved a little bit on some things as far as yards per play and third and fourth down percentages, but man, that first half was just I think I've said this after almost every episode except maybe Arizona State, but you just had them in hell. I've said that in some sort, in some way. This defense just was not going to allow them to get anything going offensively.
Well, I mean, it's what you did to BYU. You kept them on their side of the field for 90% of the plays they ran. I don't remember the final total number. They probably ran less than 90 because they had 9 plays in Texas Tech territory. So 20%. So what's flipped that? 80% of the BYU plays were on their side of the field.
What's funny, you mentioned that last week, and I happened to be watching. I didn't watch much of the TCU BYU game, but I watched enough for them to reference that. They said BYU has already been in TCU territory more this game than they were all last week in Lubbock. And I think it was the first or second quarter. They did whatever they wanted against TCU. But yeah, it has made the rounds. So that was definitely noticed.
Yeah. So they finished, UCF did 29 rushing attempts, 52 yards with a long of 20. Good for 1.8 yards per carry on the day. Texas Tech, let's talk about offensively. Quarterbacks combined for 27 of 37 for 294 passing yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Morton was 14 of 20. Griffiths was 13 of 17. Both almost had exactly the same number of yards. Morton had 149. Griffiths had 145. Their ratings were a point off. Morton's was 149.1. Griffiths' was 148.1. It's unbelievable. Rushing, you put up 200 rushing yards on 35 attempts. It's almost 6 yards per carry. If we need to go back to the preview, their rushing defense was allowing, I've already cleared it, but definitely not 6 yards per carry. And then through the air, you put up essentially 300 yards and a touchdown. And you had longs of 32, 40, 21, 18, 14. You were hitting chunk plays, especially early on. That first drive was just unbelievable. You scored in a minute 3.
4 plays, I think, right?
Yeah. So the things, again, I would like to see cleaned up. Penalties. My goodness. Like you had no pre-snap penalties, which is progress. But you did have 9 total penalties, 5 on offense for 47 yards. You had 4 holding calls and then a unsportsmanlike. And then 4 on defense for 35 yards. You had offsides. You had 2 offsides on Bailey, which I can almost just live with. Like he can do no wrong. He was trying to get there even faster. You had a defensive holding and a roughing the passer. That roughing the passer call I thought was fairly soft, especially considering there was one that was uncalled that was probably warranted to call, and it was on Bailey. He took Taven Jackson down well after the ball was gone, and he kind of hit him low too. But no pre-snap penalties. Hooray. I guess. Unless you want to count offsides, but that's defense, and I'm more talking about no false starts or stupid things on the offensive line. They well, that was dumb. That's concentration related.
Illegal shift or illegal formation or all those fun things that happen in the red zone.
So you finish up the home slate of your regular season 7-0. First time you've been perfect at home for a while. I can't remember the last time that happened. I feel like it was relatively recent, wasn't it? Like, was it under McGuire? But before that, it had been 2008.
Yeah, I mean that sounds. I was curious about that too, but I never actually dug it up. It has not happened often in the last 20 years.
No. And then one thing a lot of opposing fan bases like to point out over Texas Tech or hold over the heads, like, hey, when was the last time we had a double-digit win season? Now. It's happened now. We've got 10 wins.
It's happened. We're here. It's
so
not it's not even Thanksgiving yet, and we're here.
Yeah, we here. So y'all can just miss us with that. Bye week this week, obviously, West Virginia up next Saturday after Thanksgiving. So we'll get to that. We'll do the full preview of that. We'll be back early next week to do that. But let's look around the rest of the Big 12 and the rest of the country, then talk rankings updates, because that dropped right before we went live. And then do you want to dare Michael to look ahead, or should we hold off on that?
I'm tempted to hold off.
Okay.
But I mean, we can. What do you mean? Like, who? Let's say, like, if the playoffs started tomorrow, who would Texas Tech face? Is that what you mean by looking ahead? Because I'm okay with that.
No, I'm talking about looking ahead to the conference title game.
Oh, the conference title game. Okay. I'm okay with that. I think. I didn't want to skip that part. I feel like that's pretty important. I also don't want to assume that Texas Tech is just going to waltz into Morgantown and everything's going to go great, but we can pretend it possibly should. And even if it doesn't, I still think there's a path for Texas Tech to make the Big 12 championship game. But anyway, yeah, I feel like there's so many scenarios that can happen, even if Tech does lose in Morgantown, that it's a possibility. It's worth discussing. I'm good with it. Ain't no curses.
Okay. Ain't no curses, and we're definitely not going to do it. We're not going to cause any curses. Where was I going? I was coming here to open this up. The rest of let's start with the conference matchups, Michael. One I think we had our eyes on. I was definitely curious about how it may have gone. Arizona at Cincinnati. Cincinnati was a 6.5 point favorite, and Arizona ends up winning this one on the road, 30-24. They got the 6-point win themselves. The stretch of the game I was watching, I think they were up by 2 scores over Cincinnati. Cincinnati would score, like, it was just kind of back and forth. Like, they were holding Cincinnati out at arm's reach, and they just could never string enough plays together to mount the comeback. But that was 11 a.m. FS1. Cincinnati probably needed that one to make a case for them to get in. I'm not seeing anything in their tiebreakers or anything that's not like supremely complicated in a way for them to work themselves back into the title game conversation. So I think, without going down some super dark, winding rabbit hole, I think they're out of that contention. And a small part of me, Michael, is disappointed because of all of the potential matchups for the Big 12 title game. That was one I would have been very interested in, because it wouldn't have been a rematch.
Right. Yep. Yeah, just kind of selfishly, it would be more interesting to me, and maybe not everybody feels this way, but it would be more interesting to play Cincinnati, since Texas Tech hasn't played Cincinnati this year. And I'm sure Cincinnati kind of has a chip on their shoulder after the close loss in Lubbock last year. And I mean, there's a lot there that would make it an intriguing matchup, just solely as a football fan and a fan of competitive and interesting football. So yeah, I think I would have welcomed that too. Even I haven't looked at the matchup. I haven't.
Same.
Someone out there may be like, oh man, but they're, this skill group is way better. That would be a terrible matchup for Tech. Well, maybe it would be. I don't know, but I would have liked to have found out.
Yeah. Kansas State 20.5-point favorites in Stillwater at Oklahoma State. 11 a.m. kickoff on ESPNU. Michael, admittedly, I saw none of this game. I didn't even click on a box score. The score, though, asks plenty of questions, though. Kansas State wins 14-6, and like I said, without even looking, my first assumption was like, well, maybe Kansas State didn't play everybody, or maybe somebody missed the game that I don't know about. Because that seems awfully low. Like I don't. What happened? Is what I want to ask. So if I jump into their box score, let's see. They even forced 5 Oklahoma State turnovers. What am I missing? What the heck happened? Avery Johnson attempted every pass, 15 of 28 for 177 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Well, there you go.
33.
15 of 28 is pretty rough.
Yeah, and a 6.3 yard. That's pretty low. They were held to 3.6 yards per carry, 30 carries, 107 yards. They put up 285 yards of offense.
Ooh.
Like, they must have just been sleepwalking. I don't understand. Like, looks like all their normal starters played and contributed. You flip over and look at the other side. Oklahoma State had 3 different quarterbacks attempt to pass. Zane Flores, Trent Howland, Sam Jackson, the guy that you saw in Lubbock. They were 25 of 38 on the day, 226 yards, 5.9 yards per attempt. That's even lower than what Kansas State did. No touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They ran the ball 29 times for 147 yards, 5.1 yards per carry.
Dang.
But still committed 5 turnovers.
So
and
Kansas
still
State
only lost the game by and that Kansas State scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter. It was 7-3 at half.
Kansas State went on the road through 13 incompletions on less than 30 passes and won the turnover battle 5-0 and won by 1 score.
Nothing about this makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm with
State
you. I didn't watch.
them.
I didn't watch a second of that. I had 0 interest in it, but now I'm very interested in it, and I kind of want to go back and watch some of it.
Yeah. West Virginia at Arizona State. Arizona State was a 11.5-point favorite. Arizona State ends up winning this game, but only by 2 points, 25-23. Surely that had to be a scoregami for somebody, because that's an odd score. But like, West Virginia on the road, making it interesting.
Definitely. I know. And you see that, and you see them kind of ramping up a little bit in the last few weeks, and they get a bye week the same week Texas Tech does. So we'll obviously go into it more next week, but I'm not, I'm looking at this as this is a must win, and there's no telling what West Virginia could pull. We'll see.
Well, here's where I take comfort. They may have been going all out to maintain 6 losses, and they picked up number 7.
That's
so they're
true.
Out of bowl contention. So maybe that takes a final blow to their season.
That's something very much worth considering.
I don't know. I don't know where their headspace. You're not going to hear that confirmed by anybody. Not like
No.
Pat Narduzzi saying, "Oh, we could lose this game by 100 and still be okay." Like, dude, you like mailed it in on Monday before the game. Everybody saw that was going to happen. Such a joke, man. Yeah, their quarterback, Fox, whatever his name is, his first name, threw for 353 yards. Their leading rusher only had 42 yards on the day, which is not surprising facing the Arizona State defense. Their defense is salty. At least like not allowing teams to break a lot of runs on them. Levitt did not play. Jeff Sims was the starting quarterback, played the entire game for the Wildcats. Sun Devils, 19 of 28 for 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then added 81 yards on the ground on 17 carries. Yeah. So maybe Scotty Fox. That's what it is. Scotty Fox Jr. 19 of 31, 353. I have supreme confidence in the Texas Tech defense. So, we'll get to that preview next week. Utah at Baylor. Utah was a 8.5-point favorite on the road. They ended up winning mightily, 55-28. I think we all kind of saw this one coming. That line for Utah was too low.
That was bad.
Yeah. Then TCU in Provo taking on BYU. BYU was a 4.5-point favorite. They won by 31, 44-13. The Utah teams are bad people, but they're second and third in the conference to our Red Raiders. So
who beat them? Who beat both?
Texas Tech beat them both.
That would be.
BYU also beat Utah. But
that's true.
Funny what the BYU offense looks like when they're not playing a Texas Tech defense.
They look pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So Utah as well.
Yeah. Not throwing hospital balls to Parker Kingston. He, speaking of being in hell, he absolutely hated his trip to Lubbock. I can guarantee it. Receiver number 11 for BYU.
Oh gosh.
Started with the punt, return, drop. All right, then the rest of the big. Oh my gosh, kids are losing their mind. The rest of the big games this weekend: big nooner, Michigan versus Northwestern at Wrigley. Michigan survives 24-22. Game day. We mentioned this one a little earlier. Was at Pitt for the Notre Dame at Pitt. Notre Dame was 10.5-point favorites. They won 37-15, and it was not really even that close. Oklahoma went to Tuscaloosa, the 12 versus 4 matchup. Alabama was basically a touchdown favorite, and OU pulled it off. They won 23-21, and did it in kind of surprising fashion. Like, if I remember correctly, I'd have to go back and look at the box score. If you looked at some key stats, you would be surprised to see that that Alabama lost that game. SEC. Oh, hello. Thank you for that. ESPN. And then Texas at Georgia. Georgia was a touchdown favorite. Ends up pouring it on late, 35-10. I think it was at least 14 points there in the fourth quarter, but not really all that close. Michael, have you seen people, and when I say people, I mean Texas fans on Twitter, talking about how obviously they would still want to see Texas, a 3-loss team, a current 3-loss team in the playoff ahead of a 1-loss Texas Tech team?
I have not seen that. I saw you type that note in there and I thought, oh my gosh, they're actually saying this.
Yes.
Did they watch the same game we just watched?
Apparently not, or they have not seen Texas Tech play at all, and they just think they just don't know what Texas Tech's about this year.
Well, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that much is true, and it's just all taking a giant dump on the Big 12 in the process. I had a Notre Dame fan try to do that to me over the weekend, and I was like, What's Notre Dame's best win? A 1-point loss versus A&M? Well, they're playing some down teams this year. I'm like, well, okay, they get a break, but Tech doesn't. I mean, all right, Oklahoma State's not typically this bad.
Yeah, Texas is 7-3 right now, 5th in the SEC. They got 2 games left. This weekend versus Arkansas. Shouldn't really pose a threat to them. They're 2-8, 0-6 in Big 12. Golly, SEC play. But then they finish off the game, the regular season at home on Thanksgiving versus number 3 A&M.
Okay, now Arkansas is.
I personally wouldn't mind to see A&M. Yeah,
you're. I mean, I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying, look out, Texas, because I think. Let me go back to the games they've lost. So they lost by 9 to Auburn. They lost by 1 to LSU. They lost by 3 to Mississippi State. They lost by 3 to A&M. Lost by 3 to Arkansas. Do you see a pattern here? They're in these games. They're in at least the last 5, and it stinks that you're not going to get credit for just being in a game that you lose, but you should to an extent. So Arkansas might sneak up on Texas. We'll see.
Would hate to see it.
Oh, I'd hate to see it.
And they finish with the Aggies on Thanksgiving. So, we already talked about Texas A&M squeaking by South Carolina after being down 30-3 at the half. And then I wanted to include this shot at Ole Miss. If they were in fact ahead of Texas Tech in the rankings, then they didn't end up being. But they needed a 14-point fourth quarter comeback to beat a 3-6 Florida squad in Oxford.
Yep.
So
that's not as impressive as what Texas A&M did.
Yeah. that one's a double-edged sword. I'm still gonna.
I know it is. I don't know why I'm on the side of the Aggies there. That takes some mental fortitude to just say, nah, heck with it. We're going to insight bowl this thing. We're going to come back. We're going to win. That's just, sorry, deal with it, everybody.
Yeah. No new jobs have come open since we last recorded, but one has been filled.
Oh, sorry. Hit my microphone.
Virginia Tech has hired James Franklin.
Heyo.
Which I actually think is a good fit for him. Like all around good fit. That makes sense. Good for them.
Well, and I even some of the things I've seen, I think he had some insane buyout. I think it was $49 million or something if he didn't get back into coaching. But I think since he did get back into coaching, that got dramatically decreased, and I think Penn State's given some of the money to Virginia Tech, or I don't know. It sounds like that it's not as greedy and awful looking as it could be. So that's good to hear. What little I understand of it.
Yeah, and hopefully this gives them a bump. I say hopefully. They get a little new coach bump to take down Miami this weekend.
Ooh, so. Yeah, good point. Maybe they'll kick a 63-yard field goal.
That would be walk off. To watch. I do have a question. I don't know if we want to save it for questions or we want to get to it here. I think the biggest domino everybody's waiting to see here, they're holding their breath. What is Lane Kiffin going to do? Because I think that's going to be the one that kicks off how this all transpires, whether he goes to Florida. I think from my understanding, it's basically Florida or he stays at Ole Miss. I think LSU was a long shot. And there's enough very public just weirdness going on with the LSU and how things are being handled without a president. Like that says I don't want any part of that right now. Yes, great school, great program. But seeing how all this is unfolding, I don't know if I would want to step into that, especially someone like Lane Kiffin, who legitimately could write down any number he wanted and any weird collection of demands and realistically get that from anybody, like, why would you step into something that's like, even like a perceived notion of something being off? Like, he doesn't have to accept that. I want nothing to do with that. I want to go into something very stable, whether that's staying at Ole Miss or taking on something like Florida. LSU, there's just too much weirdness around it right now. One, I want to get your thoughts. Like, if you were Lane Kiffin, Michael, what would you do? Hold that thought.
Got it.
But what he does he stay at Ole Miss? What does Florida do? LSU? Or does he take one of those jobs and then what does Ole Miss do? Like, all of that. Penn State, like, do they really go after Matt Rule? Are they going to wait out and wait to see if they can get Matt Campbell? Would the fans accept that because he's not like a high enough tiered coach in their eyes? Does his perceived lack of like self promotion actually work against him? Because, like, well, he's not talked about in connection to all these high profile jobs when maybe he was, and he just like, nah, I don't really want that to be out there. Does that hurt his case to be a legitimate candidate for some of these bigger jobs? Does he want to leave Iowa State? I don't know. Anyways, one of many dominoes to tumble in the coaching carousel. Virginia Tech hires James Franklin. Again, I think it's a fantastic fit. He was really good at Vanderbilt, helped them get going in the right direction. Good at Penn State, not good enough, but it's not my money that they are paying him to not coach for them. So whatever. Be interesting to follow how the rest of this shakes out. Do you want to do AP and coaches poll updates? Or you just want to jump right into the CFP rankings?
I'm good for. I mean, I like having these here in case we want to reference them, but man, it's so nice. It's so nice to be in the position we're in. And yes, CFP rankings, I feel like let's just jump into that.
Well, and here's the thing. Like, we talk about the times where you take the best ranking, and that, like, when you write about yourself, you put on your website, you put in your tweet, you take the highest ranking. The one that matters the most has you ranked the highest. So we'll just stick with that. CFP rankings came out tonight. Texas Tech checks in at number 5, previously number 6, moved up a spot thanks to the generosity of the Oklahoma Sooners, knocking off the Alabama Crimson Tide. Right now, if the playoff started today, like we were kind of talking about this, or potentially looking ahead to this, if the playoff started today, this would be a 5-12 matchup with Tulane. The winner of that game would then go on to face Georgia, but this game would be in Lubbock, which is fantastic.
So ideal. Please let us host a playoff game. If we get the chance, please let us host one. I'm trying to not speak in absolutes.
And here's where it was going to be weird. Ohio State and Indiana will still play a conference title game. How the result of that game affects rankings, TBD. Right? Like, you don't want to be punished for playing in that game, as a participant. Like, I don't want Texas Tech to be harmed if they were to potentially lose in the Big 12 title game. Right?
Right.
But there was a case where all 4 teams that would have gotten the potential first round bye, would have been playing in their respective title games. Like, surely one of them would drop out of the top 4. And if you were at 5, would you slide in? Now, that's now changed with Alabama dropping back. Georgia, I don't think, without some great help, would be playing in the SEC title game. But they are the 4 seed, or number 4. Or maybe they play A&M. I don't remember the SEC rankings, all how that works out. So, assuming that, like, let's say Indiana wins the Big 10 title game, Ohio State drops back 4, Indiana moves up to 1, SEC stays pat where they're at. Texas Tech at 5. This is the best possible spot in my mind for you to be. And I don't love the matchup with Georgia. Just to
Oh,
say
nope,
that, like, it would be very,
nope.
very tough.
Watched enough of that game the other night. I put that in the Discord. It was fun to watch a top 10 matchup with potential playoff implications. I was watching it
Yeah.
thinking Texas Tech may be playing one of these teams, likely Georgia, if all the chips fall in the right direction and they get in the playoffs and yada yada, all these things happen. So it was kind of nice to watch it with that in mind, and instead of just appreciating some entertaining football, but then it was also kind of unnerving seeing what Georgia did in the second half and the just soul crushing onside kick and all of these things. You're just thinking, oh boy, this, yeah, this would be a tough out. Absolutely.
But on the flip side, if you were to move down any, like if you were the 6th seed, then you would play the 3 A&M. If you were the 7, you'd be up against the 2 seed. If you're the 8, you'd be playing the number 1 seed in the second round. So Georgia's dang good. And
Yes.
I would hate for them to lose, Michael. I'd hate for them to lose and for that possibility to open back up. And you know what? I would even suspend my hatred for, or not my hatred, my disdain for Ole Miss if they were to somehow leapfrog Texas Tech and grab that number 4 spot. Because I would love to get them in the second round. Especially if they're without a coach. So that would just be most unfortunate.
What a world that would be.
So, Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia are your top 4. Texas Tech, Ole Miss, I believe, is 6. Oregon is 7. Oklahoma at number 8. I believe it's Notre Dame at 9.
Yes.
Who's
Alabama
at
10.
Alabama 10. BYU is up to 11. Utah at 12. You're like, well, that why aren't they being talked about in the playoff brackets? Because you have to have the at large spot for a group of 6 or whatever they call themselves, and potentially make room for the ACC champion. So BYU, Utah likely missing the playoff if Texas Tech wins next weekend versus West Virginia and wins the Big 12 conference title game.
Because Utah, my goodness, too many U's right there. Miami or Georgia Tech, that would be who I would imagine would come out of the ACC. Possibly there's a path for Virginia, but it's not like I've looked at that closely. But yeah, those 3 will get in there somewhere, along with a Tulane or a James Madison or a North Texas or whoever else makes the rankings in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Speaking of who else has made the rankings, Houston moves up from unranked the 23rd spot. Arizona State also moves up from unranked to ranked to 25 after their very impressive 2-point win at home versus West Virginia. Sure, they get benefit there. Cincinnati drops out from 25 to unranked.
And Houston was off this week, right?
Yeah. So they moved up at least 3 spots in the playoff rankings without playing a game.
Coins with the Big 12. They're like, well, crap, Cincinnati lost. What do we do? I don't know. Let's put Houston in there.
Yeah. This is from the Big 12 release, looking ahead to the Big 12 title game, which is next up. Sorry, not next up, but first before playoff talk. BYU and Texas Tech are the only programs this week who can clinch a spot in the 2025 Edward Jones Big 12 Football Championship. To do that, Texas Tech would need a loss by Arizona State and a BYU win over Cincinnati, or losses by Arizona State, BYU, and Utah. That second scenario, I have a hard time seeing that all 3 of those teams lose.
Unlikely.
But a loss by Arizona State is possible. I don't have the schedule up in front of me, Michael. Do you have it?
It's a few scrolls down.
Oh, because you pulled it up for us. Look at that. It is
BYU. Yeah, BYU's at Cincinnati, and Kansas State is at Utah.
and Arizona State is at Colorado. So
Yeah.
don't hold your breath on that one happening. So you may not clinch it this weekend, but also you're not playing. So maybe you don't deserve to clinch it this week without playing.
Right. Well, and that, that could be a rough game for BYU up in Cincinnati. That's possible.
Yeah, potential.
It's a possible loss. But yeah, Arizona State losing in Boulder and Utah losing at home versus a Kansas State team that survived against Oklahoma State. Not seeing it. Not seeing it.
Yeah. BYU would clinch with a win over Cincinnati and losses by Arizona State. We've already said that. By Colorado, probably not happening. And Houston. Houston is playing. Keep going. TCU. That's plausible. Or they need a win over Cincinnati and Arizona State to lose. Again, unlikely, and a Utah win. So that one's close. A win over Cincinnati, a Utah win, but Arizona State losses. A long shot this weekend. But who knows with Sam Levitt out. What's his name? Jeff Sims. We just talked about him. So there are a lot of tiebreaker scenarios. This is the cleanest one that I think we can talk about or look at. Would love to have it all wrapped up. Getting past this game this week, there is a potential for Texas Tech to lock up their spot on Friday after Thanksgiving before you even take the field on Saturday. You have a 6-day window, so you won't even know what time your kickoff is. Selfishly, you want a 11 a.m. kickoff Saturday versus West Virginia. You don't want them to be gearing up for a night game or any kind of weirdness there for a senior day at home. You want balmy weather and an early flight home to start getting ready for a Big 12 title game appearance.
Flight home from Morgantown? No,
Yes.
There's no such thing.
Well, a trip home from Morgantown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got to drive up to Pittsburgh and then fly home.
Yeah. But still, Lubbock's so hard to get to.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it.
It's just tough. Unreal. The airport is 15 miles from the school. It's crazy.
Have I told you this little bit of population trivia, Michael? That
I don't know.
my fair city of Corpus Christi, Texas, is larger population-wise than Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Wow. Did not know that. Where y'all at? Are y'all in the 500s?
No. We're in the 4? Almost 320.
320? Okay.
But
For
that just goes
some
like,
reason I thought Corpus was as big as Albuquerque, which is in the half mil range.
no, Albuquerque is a lot bigger than you would think it is.
Yeah.
But the city of Pittsburgh, if you want to include like the metropolitan area, whatever. The city of Pittsburgh has 300 and as of the 2020 census, just under 303. So
There you go.
there you go. I have a little one sneaking in here. So okay, cool. Thank you. Good night. Anything else football wise, soccer wise you want to get to? I have not kept up with postseason play.
I do have some soccer news. So Texas Tech is now 14-2-4. They completed and won their first round game against UTSA. This was last Friday, 6:00 in Lubbock. We would have gone, but we went to the Lady Raiders game the night before. We had tickets to the Tech game on football game on Saturday and basketball Saturday morning. Anyway, we had to tap out, but it was a really great game. Texas Tech jumped out 1-0 with Parsons getting a score in the 13-minute mark. Then UTSA's lone goal, you should look up the replay on this, Spencer, if you haven't seen it. There was I changed the channel right when it started, and I asked someone for context on this, and I already forgot. But anyway, there was some sort of foul right at midfield, and UTSA elected to have their goalkeeper kick the free kick from midfield. An insane shot against, one of the best goalkeepers Texas Tech has had in maybe ever or in a very long time. Shout out to Maddie White. But Faith Nguyen just went right over her. I mean, it was incredible. It was an incredible 1 in a million shot goal. One of those that you kind of can't even be mad at because it was so wild. And so that was the equalizer. And luckily, Krzyzewski came along later with 76-minute mark, had a crazy goal of her own. I don't know how she got that ball through the defenders that she got it through. And then Texas Tech ultimately won 2-1 to go on to the second round, the round of 32. So that will be played this Thursday at 4 p.m. on ESPN Plus. This is in Fort Worth, and they will play the UNC. They will play North Carolina Tar Heels. The Tar Heels just knocked off number 3 seed in the tournament, Tennessee, 3-1. So kind of some light work at Tennessee, taking care of them in round 1. Texas Tech right now is ranked number 17 in the United Soccer Coaches Poll. UNC is ranked number 25. I think that's their first appearance, and I'm sure it has something to do with them just beating Tennessee. UNC is 13-6-0 on the season, 6-4-0 in conference play. So if you're able to get on the Plus and watch that Thursday at 4 o'clock, if you get home, you'll be able to at least catch the end of it and see how the Lady Raiders do and see if they can get a shot to make it to the Sweet 16. If they do happen to advance, or whoever does advance from this game, they will go on to play number 2 seed TCU or number 7 seed Memphis, and that game would be on Sunday. TBA. But great win at home, getting to the second round. Seeing Scarlett as we were going live had an episode more about UNC. They probably have a lot of great insight on who Texas Tech is getting ready to play. So be sure and listen to them and try to watch at 4 o'clock on Thursday. See if they can make it to the Sweet 16.
Sorry, I was trying to find that goal on various platforms. There's a highlight video posted by Texas Tech. I doubt they would include the UTSA goal in that.
Yeah, maybe not.
So, and I was scrolling through X and I was finding a lot of things from like 10, 15 years ago. I was like, I don't need soccer highlights from 2014. But that's exciting. You don't want to give up a midfield goal from a goalkeeper on a free kick, but love that you were, just everything. Oh, you said it. I've already forgotten it. Zadruski?
Krzyzewski.
Came back.
It took me all season to correctly pronounce her name. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone involved.
All right, let's talk about some hoops, Michael.
Before we get going on this, because I think I'm going to contradict myself as we talk a little bit more. But
excuse me,
how much stock do you put into November basketball? What do we know?
I think it's a lot like late August college football.
Okay.
You can tell if you're bad. And you can tell if there are questions.
Okay.
But if you're good, like there's enough time that you can like clear stuff up and figure some stuff out. I'm in the camp right now. Look at the Texas Tech basketball team. It's like, I hope you're going to figure some things out. because it's not been an inspiring start to the season. We knew that coming in, you had scheduled harder, and in the balance, we're getting into the competitive spots in your schedule, whether it's conference play or getting ready for some kind of tournament run. This schedule is going to do a lot more for you than playing a bunch of teams that were in the 300s and respective rankings, whether it's Haslametrics or KenPom. Struggling, though, this early in the season, I say struggling, not putting teams away 30 points a night is different. And I know other teams handle this very differently than Texas Tech does, or is doing. I'm in the camp right now that I think there are questions to be answered. And I hope that this is not trends or flaws that will be exploited and magnified as you hit the balance of your very competitive Big 12 schedule. So that's where I'm at, how much stock I put into it.
That's kind of where I'm at too. It's not. I don't think Texas Tech's going to get any taller before that happens. I mean, we do have a 7-footer. I think that's injured and or not playing right now, but that's something that concerns me. Just seeing the rebound disparity here and there. Toppin is incredible. He's still just incredible. Anderson's had some really strong games. A couple of the new guys have stepped up a little bit, and they're young. They're really young, so that gives you a little bit of hope. But yeah, I'm trying not to think too much of it one way or the other. They're still learning to play with each other, and like you said, it's a little, not a little bit. It's quite a tougher schedule than what Tech is used to having. Although I would have liked to see. I know that Milwaukee was picked to win their conference. Forgive me, I don't know what conference that is. Or they were picked to be second. But I would have liked to have seen a little bit more separation in that game after coming back from Illinois with the fight that they showed in that game that I thought they were out of. I truly did. I was surprised to see the score once because I think we were getting ready to record and some other things, and I just kind of forgot. I didn't check the score for a little bit. Next thing I know, they were within 2 after being down 15 or whatever around halftime. So the fight's there. We can see it, but the defense is lacking to me. And, some of these younger guys are making mistakes that hopefully will get corrected. But, yeah, I'm trying not to look too much into it either. But with that said, I mean, the metrics and everybody still kind of loves Texas Tech. It looks like, KenPom didn't really demote Tech much at all after the loss to Illinois. They went from 14 to 16. Haslam, they went from 22 to 24. Even in the AP poll, it was a pretty big drop. Tech went. Well, actually, no, it really wasn't that big a drop. They only dropped 4 spots, but Illinois did move up 6 because they beat Texas Tech, which is a blue blood, as you know now. That was the reaction. That was the reaction I had at the end of that game.
It's that Texas Tech bump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was remarking to whatever was going on in the background at your house.
So Samantha's not feeling well, so she's not like on top of them as she normally has been helping me out lately. And I'm not. She needs to go rest. The 2 youngest kids should have been asleep 2 hours ago at this point. We had a bath incident that extended bedtime a little bit. And this is not unusual for them to be up, but like they are just on something. Like
they're
in the bathroom.
They know the break is coming. They're like, It's about to be Thanksgiving break. We're so ready. We're so excited.
Yeah. So Milwaukee plays in the Horizon League with Cleveland State, Detroit Mercy, Green Bay, IU Indianapolis, Northern Kentucky, Oakland, Purdue, Fort Wayne, Robert Morris, Wright State, and Youngstown State.
Of course they do.
So there you go. So last game was on Friday. They took down Milwaukee 80-63. It was close there for a lot longer of the game than I would have expected. It was a projected win, 83-63. It finished 80-63, so that's pretty spot on. But it was close, like I said, a lot more than I would have wanted to see. Next up is the Bahamas tournament starting Thursday night versus Wake Forest. And then Friday, you'll get the winner of the Purdue-Memphis matchup. And then you're back on the hardwood at home versus New Orleans, who did take down TCU earlier this season on the night before Thanksgiving. I say night, the day before. It's 12 p.m. tip off on Wednesday the 26th.
Yeah, that would be a fun one to attend if you're in town. We'll actually be out of town. But still just early. It's just early. That's all I can say. I've got a pretty good same thing. I have to tell myself the opposite of this, Spencer. So the Lady Raiders are 5-0. They just finished taking care of two Power 4 teams at home handily versus SMU. That was a 91-60 win. That was the first game we got to go to this year. Last Thursday night, very big scoring night. They had 30 points in the first quarter. They had 27 points in the second quarter. So they were pouring it on. I think I say the second. I think that was the third, actually. I think it was the third quarter. Anyway, Bristow had 20 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks on 50% shooting. Nice little double-double for her. Maupin with 26 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists on 60% shooting. And off the bench, Jada Malone chipped in with 10 points, and Snudda Collins with 17. I'll get to her a little bit more later. So a 91-60 victory over SMU, a team that was 2 points away from beating Kansas State a week before that. I, try not to read too much into it, but the Lady Raiders looked pretty darn good. I got to watch most all of that one. I think my 8-year-old kind of tapped out right at the end of the third quarter, so we didn't get to finish the fourth. But they look good. They really did. They're moving the ball. They've got some shooters. They're playing defense. We'll see. It's November. Then on Sunday, Texas Tech Lady Raiders hosted Arkansas with another win, 80-68. They actually led by 16 at half. It was 43-27 at halftime. There were 4 starters with 10 or more points, and that included Nunez, Fritz, Bristow, and Maupin. So just a good, not just 1 or 2 players as we've seen in recent years, and usually Maupin had to be one of them, and then someone else had to get hot. But now it's going to be kind of Bristow and Maupin and Collins, I think, which has been very interesting to me. So Collins off the bench again with 15 points. She leads the team in scoring right now, and she's the 6th man basically. So she comes off the bench, and it's close. It's not like it's by 7 or 8 points or something. They're all within 0.2. So Collins, who again is not a starter right now, she's scoring 16.6 points per game. Bristow's at 16.4, and Maupin is at 16.2. So I mean, if you're having that kind of production off the bench, and you've got someone like Nunez who can distribute the ball and keep Maupin from having to play point the whole game. Maupin will still play it here and there, but she doesn't have to nearly as much as she had to last year. And that gives Fritz a chance to, set up and be more open, because she can drain a 3, but she had to play point quite a bit last year too. So I'm trying to stay even keel, but 5-0 so far. Another Power 5 test, Mississippi State comes to town Thursday, the 20th. That's this Thursday at 6:00. It'll be on ESPN Plus. Mississippi State, though, is 4-0, but they have mostly blowout wins over Davidson, Georgia State, Mississippi Valley, and Jackson State. So not a super impressive resume so far. And this will be their first Power Four competition and their first road trip, where Texas Tech then takes their first road trip this coming Sunday, the 23rd, at New Mexico. That'll be at 2 p.m. on the Mountain West Network, which I think you can just stream on any browser. I remember doing that previously, and possibly for soccer or something, but I think you can just stream it. I don't think you need an app or anything. And New Mexico is 4-1, and they have a win against a common opponent, North Carolina A&T. So Texas Tech took care of North Carolina A&T 78-40 at home. New Mexico only beat them 71-64 at home. And the one loss that New Mexico has was at Colorado. So we'll see what they are able to do. New Mexico, always a tough basketball place to play. Really into their hoops are the Lobos. So Mississippi State, New Mexico coming up. We'll see if we'll be 7-0 the next time you and I visit.
That would be quite the start of the season.
Fingers
All
crossed.
Right. On this bye week, let's wrap up with questions and get to what did we learn. So I posed this to you earlier, talking about the coaching carousel, all the weirdness that's going to go down, starting to move now that, James Franklin's off the board. If you were one Lane Kiffin, Michael, in this current scenario where you've never been hotter as a head coaching prospect, what would you do? Would you take a job and leave Ole Miss? Would you write in all kinds of crazy riders on your contract? Like, sure, if you're willing to make me the highest paid coach and make sure I have a bowl of green M&Ms and a bowl of red Skittles, and I never have to put a Dasani water bottle or a Coke on the press conference table, and I have a fridge full of Red Bulls and whatever soda of choice. I don't know. What would you do?
I am a creature of habit, and I am someone who does not like to take risks. I would stay at Ole Miss if it were me in that position. If I'm thinking like Lane Kiffin, I don't know. I mean, he's such a wild card.
Yeah.
I really couldn't tell you, but I look at it this way. He might be looking at it, if he looks at it logically, he might be thinking he has some unfinished business there, because when he came into Ole Miss, they were, 4 years in a row, 5-7, 6-6, 5-7, 4-8. Matt Luke had his 3-year stint there. I don't even remember that. I don't remember who was there after Hugh Freeze, but it was apparently a guy named Matt Luke. The guy with two first names preceded Lane Kiffin, and I don't remember him at all. But Kiffin came in, went 5-5, then immediately went 10-3, 8-5. Oh, that 5-5 year was the COVID year, by the way. So whatever. Went 10-3 in 2021, then 8-5, 11-2, 10-3 last year. He did get wins in the Peach and Gator Bowl the last 2 years, but I would still say, oh, by the way, they lost in the Texas Bowl. I wonder who that was against. Anyway, I would still say that he's got some unfinished business there. They are running, they are firing. They've got a good team. They've got a good support system. I think they will give him whatever he wants up to a certain dollar amount that only they know. I would stay. I would stay if I were him. That's my quick thought. That wasn't very quick.
Yeah, I not that Ole Miss hasn't given him literally anything he could ever want or that he's asked for. I just have questions about what the people and the recruits and the players that matter think of Ole Miss's prospects of being a perennial challenger in power. Can he get over the hump somewhere else like a Florida or an LSU? I tend to think he's going to be the highest paid coach wherever he's at, right or wrong. And he's going to get whatever he wants. Whatever even minuscule little difference of competitive advantage I think there may be out there to gain, he's got to go for it. So it may be negligible, barely more than negligible, Florida over Ole Miss, but I would still make that step. They've been there. They may have a broader base to pull from in terms of crowdsourcing, NIL funding, and all that kind of stuff. Not that Ole Miss can't. I mean, they've been doing it off the books for forever.
Well, maybe you want to be the first guy who takes them there. I think that's where the allure is for Ole Miss to me. Is they haven't really been there. They've been close. They've been so close a few times. And he could be the guy to do it. And then what? They're just going to name the university after him, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what he would want, what he wants to do, what kind of legacy he wants. Does he want to write that legacy? He's like, I want to be the first one to do it, to potentially do it, or do I want to go do it where it may be a little more, not easier, but there's pedigree, like they've done it before.
Yeah. Do I want to go to a fourth program and get a double-digit win season at a fourth program? He has more double-digit wins seasons than Texas Tech has in the last 30 years.
So,
okay,
if it were me, I would step over to Florida.
Okay, all right. Well, I think we disagree. Not that it really matters. I'll let you read Haley's question, but I wanted to ask a question first. So my question it goes back to the current CFP rankings. We saw some jumping around a little bit. We saw OU jump Notre Dame. That was really it, actually. So short conversation there. But my question to you, who could jump Texas Tech on a bye week? And let me, for those of you listening, I said could, not should. We need to consider who is making these decisions. It is not us. We're just merely two guys talking some ball, talking some rankings. But I mean, is it possible that the CFP committee could have Oregon jump Texas Tech? Because Oregon is number 7. Texas Tech is 5. Oregon is hosting number 15 USC. Maybe that's potential to jump. I think the one I might even be more worried about is Oklahoma, because they've shown that they like to kick them up when they can. Oklahoma's number 8. They play at number 22 Mizzou, so it'd be one SEC on SEC violence. That's always worth more in the rankings because it just means more. And it would be an away game. So if Oklahoma were to win that one, they would have to jump Ole Miss, because Ole Miss is playing a nobody this week.
They're off this week.
Oh, they're off. So they're off too. They're kind of in the same boat. What's going to happen?
For Oklahoma to do that, they would jump 3 schools that would not have lost.
Well, if Oregon loses, let's say in that scenario, if Oklahoma jumps Texas Tech, then Oregon would have had to have lost. And so Oregon loses to USC and they're out. So Oklahoma's at least 7. They win. I mean, maybe they even just swap. Maybe they swap places and put Ole Miss above Tech and then put OU above Tech. I don't know. I could see some weird things happening just because I'm jaded and I've been down some dark paths as a Tech fan.
I think really though, the fact that Ole Miss is also off, like you got a buffer there. Both teams are off. Like Oregon would really have to put it on USC, right?
Yeah.
To even have a conversation moving at all, let alone 2 spots.
You're right. That I think I looked incorrectly. I forgot that Mississippi or Ole Miss had already played their cupcake last week. I didn't even think to see who they were playing this week, and it is literally nobody, not a nobody. They are playing nobody.
They play nobody.
So that does. I think you're right. I think that does help a little bit.
All right. Question was from Haley. We read it earlier, but rest is good, but too much rest can be bad. What do y'all think about first round bye or warm up game before Georgia? I absolutely want to play the first round at home. I don't want the bye.
I don't think so either. We are getting a bye week right now. I did not like the timing of this bye week when I looked at the schedule this season, but the way the season is playing out with Tech's chance to potentially get to the Big 12 championship game, to potentially go further than that, it's about as good of a timed bye week as you could ask for. And yes, I say bring the noise. I'm kind of with you on too much rest can be bad, Haley. Let's keep it moving. Let's get Tulane or James Madison or whoever to Lubbock and see what happens. That would be, and that's just going off what we saw today in the rankings.
All right, let's wrap this up. What do we learn? I'll keep it short. Toddlers are their own thing, man. I got screaming in the background.
Yeah,
I'm sure y'all have heard it. Y'all have heard it all night. This is just life here. She's 2.5. Love her to pieces, but like, she should have been asleep hours ago.
Mine's really quick. I learned that basketball is still really fun to play. My daughter and I finally got a chance. We had a court to ourselves. My wife was doing some stuff for the PTO at school this weekend, and so we went up there and helped her a little bit, but then also dove off to the gym for a while and just worked on layups, worked on passes, worked on dribbling. She got to see me airball free throws. I enjoyed the heck out of it. She was having fun. I was having fun. Next thing I know, we're racing each other full court, dribbling. That was her idea. But man, that I hadn't played basketball in forever, and I was never awesome at it, but I forgot how much I liked it, and it was really fun to play with her, and she's really enjoying it. So that was it. That was what I learned. Basketball is still fun to play, especially when your ankles are fully intact once you're done playing. So that was a good outcome of about an hour. We probably played for about an hour. I think I wore her out. I was still ready to keep going. She's like, I need to take a break. Okay. All right, sure. You're 8. That's fine.
All right. That'll do it for us here on the 23 Personnel Podcast. We'll be back on Monday, the 24th, to talk about previewing West Virginia, and then we'll have our instant reaction that weekend. By that time, Michael, oh my gosh, we may know. Doubtful, but we'll be that much closer. But for Michael, I'm Spencer. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at PuntSuck, and Michael at Michael_LVK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.